Good to go?
Mm-hmm.
You started or not?
Yes.
Oh, we're live?
Mm-hmm.
Saturday night? So we've talked a little bit, in the past couple discussions about, pretty much that there's kind of awareness that we're not aware of. Okay, it's very interesting that if we start to look inside and look outside, wherever we look, we come across. It's basically going to fall into emptiness. But the mind, the consciousness, has this other quality besides being empty. It has that ability to be conscious. So our mind has the consciousness to be, aware of what goes on. Our eyes, our ears, our nose, our smell, the touch, everything goes somewhat into the consciousness. What's happening basically is that, first of all, we don't recognize emptiness. So we grasp onto something. And then as we come into contact, moment by moment by moment, whether we're walking, talking, sitting down in meditation, something new is arising within our sphere of knowing. But we're usually confused and we know wrongly. So by knowing wrongly, we see non-duality as duality. We see everything dual. I'm this and the outside world is there, and everything is very solid. So we talked before about how, Lama would say, check up. So by going in and checking, taking a look, questioning how we're perceiving ourselves in the world, we might have the ability to begin to wake up a little bit. So besides the essence of our mind being emptiness, it's also awake. It's able to know. It has the knowing ability. Besides that, there's also an innate wisdom within us. That innate wisdom is beyond our conceptual mind. It's beyond concepts. It's beyond thoughts. But what do? We try to know something that's beyond concepts by using concepts. And so it's a little frustrating. We keep on trying to understand something. So the mind can know things. The intellectual mind can know things, but it doesn't know them directly. It knows them indirectly. So we say, okay, there's fire over here. There's smoke over here, so there's fire, and we infer that. But unless we directly see that, we don't really know it. So the real path is becoming non-separate from our wisdom, from our knowing, from knowing properly. It reminds me of, I'm sure all of you have went to get eye tests. You go to get the eye test, and they put a little thing in front of you and say clear, and they say, well, how about this one clearer, this one clearer, and they keep flicking it until it gets kind of clearer. The luminous quality of our mind, the clarity of our mind, which is always there, which is always within us each moment, but we're not moving, these little, I guess you call them lenses. We're not moving the lenses, so we don't we don't see things clearly. We see things, kind of this way, kind of that way, kind of foggy. And the problem becomes that because we don't really look and we don't let things slow themselves down, and we immediately start to grasp and fight with what's coming into our perception, that it's like it's like the what do you call that the movie theaters used to have? They'd have the film projector. They take the projector, and you'd have all these little still things, and they move through very fast, and it makes it look like something solid. So that's what's happening to us. We're moving so fast. So if we sit there and say to ourselves, if somebody said, even take a piece of paper and a pen and write down what is the view of yourself. It's kind of like, well, that's a bit vague. I don't know, maybe I kind of like it this way. I like it a little bit warmer than cold, and, come up with a couple things. But it's pretty vague. The reality is, every moment we come in contact with whatever we come in contact with, through our senses, every moment, there's a bad file existing inside that knows immediately, I don't like that. Beyond words, I don't like that. I really like that. Is it filming okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this file that's inside there has so much energy that it creates the situation to continuously repeat itself over and over and over again. That, in Buddhist terminology, is what's called, the Sanskrit word is samsara. It's cycling. We keep recycling. We keep on recycling. This is me and that is that. And so the world appears very quickly, like with the film, happening fast, until we slow it down and start to see it actually existing in kind of like particles. It just slows down. And those particles fall into particles. And so we have no concept about what we're experiencing, what we're feeling, and that brings on a experience of openness. It becomes something beyond thought. It's not somebody telling you, a chocolate tastes like this. You actually taste the chocolate. You actually taste the real essence of our mind, the real nature of our mind, the luminous quality of our mind, the brilliance of our mind. We actually experience it through this process that has, gone beyond this conceptual framework that has kept us over and over and over again. So everything that comes about, we wake up in the morning, and I don't know, maybe not thinking much, we sit there and think, oh, I don't know, I kind of got a sick feeling in my stomach. Is something bad going on? Did I have a bad dream last night? Or what do you call it? Did somebody bang into my car and I forgot about it? Or did it happen in my dream or what? But something, we wake up with these feelings. And those feelings feel bad to us. But if we look, it's only feelings. It has no badness in it. It has no goodness in it. It's just feelings. We've created that feeling. To me might not be the same feeling for anybody else here. Could be different. You could see that differently. In fact, if you have great wisdom, you see it as bliss. It's just energy. But the karmic hold that it has on us, that even if we get a short moment of a glimpse that, wow, that thing is really not the way it appears, it's illusionary. If we even get that for a glimpse, the energy wants to come back immediately again and say, hey, wait a minute, what are you doing? That's bad, and you know it's bad. You've always known that's bad, and you've always disliked it. Always. So this energy, basically, is part of us as well. We have the energy, and we've created this complete dream world. It's actually no different than our dreams at night, except that, in this world we're interacting with some other sentient beings or with other parts of the world. In the dreams, it's all part of our mental, but the reaction to that inside of our dreams is no different than throughout the day. If we're held within that framework, we're frozen, we're stuck. And so, how do we work with this? Well, it's, this is where, like if we're Buddhist at the beginning, we say, oh, I go to refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. I go to refuge to the Buddha because the Buddha's wisdom, is pointing out, that we're seeing things in the wrong way, and things have some form of existence, but not the way that we see them. Not the way that every one of us see things differently. Whatever we look at, we see something differently. It's not the same. We think everything we see is exactly the same as what everybody else says. Completely wrong. Completely wrong. If your mind is clairvoyant and you can see the way somebody's thinking, and you can look at somebody else thinking that, you sit there and say, that's really a beautiful table. Well, I don't know, I kind of don't like that table, because this, these are my concepts, that I've built up. So the fact is that we begin to take refuge in the Buddha, because the Buddha is going to be the one that basically is like the ultimate doctor that's going to help us from our pain, from our suffering, which is a creation of our own conceptual framework. Something that we have created, and something that we've believed in, something that we stamped real, moment by moment by moment by moment. So we take refuge in the Dharma, the teachings, the way, to be able to learn. So how does this medicine actually help? How the medicine helps is that because when our mind is suffering, is within pain, we're self-grasping, we're self-cherishing. All of a sudden, we do something, whether we sit down and do meditation, or we actually sit and say, oh, I'm going to do something, I'm going to go give some food to some poor people over here that don't have any food, and we want to give that with with an open heart, without any strings attached. That act of giving is aligning ourselves with our true nature. And so our body, our mind opens up. When we go the other way and it's like, oh, what do I do if I can't give something to them? What do I have? Then, basically, we go in and we begin to squeeze inside. Like I said, Lama Yeshe would say, you're squeezing. We're sitting and squeezing. When we're really in meditation, not what looks like meditation, not just sitting with our body, because meditation doesn't have to be just sitting. Meditation can be all of our activities. They will become all of our activities. That's what it is. Everything, day and night. So that what happens is that life happens. And so something distracts us. Maybe when meditating, a sound distracts us. Maybe a bad thought comes in and distracts us. So when our mind sees that for what it is, as a thought, and the sound as a sound, and just leave that. Just let it go. We see that it's got an impermanent nature, and so our mind is acting opposite to the way we want it. We want to think this situation is permanent. It's going to stay cloudy. It's never going to get sunny out. It's not true. The clouds in the sky arise from causes and conditions, and when they dissolve, when the causes and conditions run out of energy, it dissolves, and you got pure open sky, pure open space. So that as our situations, begin to arise within ourselves, depending on the level we're at, actually it's very appropriate because with what we have coming up on the weekend, this puja, which is the Vajrasattva puja, there are two things that are kind of necessary along the path. One of them is like what's called accumulation of merit. So it's kind of like a credit card. We do good things. Even the things are not perfectly pure, but they're kind of good, and they kind of make us feel good, and they kind of make somebody else feel good, because we actually do something good. We give something to somebody that needs something. We help somebody that needs some help. We basically start to go little bits off of this bad file that we've named ego, that's inside there, and is only holding on to myself and cherishing only myself. We start to go off of that a little bit. So we begin to create merit. Creating merit happens in many ways. It happens by our doing meditation. It comes from repeating mantras. It comes from doing certain things at certain places that are kind of generating positive energy. So this is like having a credit card. But the credit card, we have to we want to keep putting positive credits inside there. So that's what we do. And at the same time, the big problem for us, the real big problem is that our minds do not feel ourselves, do not have compassion for ourselves, do not have compassion for others. So that what happens, basically, is that this particular type of activity, which has gone on and on and on and on for so long and holds on to us, at some point we need to feel, I'm actually better than I thought I was. So for meditation, we sit there and we begin to feel our Buddha nature, we begin to feel our potential. And that can allow us some light, some space. But we also sometimes need to do purification practices, which is what's, the puja is on the weekend, because the types of karma that have been created, we carry along with us incredible baggage that's that not on an intellectual level, but really feels inside of ourselves, oh my God, I did such bad things. I did so many bad things here. I did things with my body to other people, to cheat them, to steal from them, to hurt them. There's different things that we've kind of done, many times. We can't help it. We just do them. We've been caught in this game for so long, and so we've done that. And so we, instead of feeling okay, a Lama says to us, okay, you're purified, you're good. But wait a minute, I'm sitting there saying, no, I'm not good. I'm still bad. I can feel I got a lot of junk. So the purification practices begin to psychologically allow us to purify. Why can we purify them? Because our karma is empty too. Our karma, that activity itself, has no self-existence that says that this karma has to hurt you, has to control you. But our mind can't think that, can't get into that. So we get into the practices. We do good things. We accumulate, positive actions, positive activity as much as possible, with our lifetime. We do our practices. We generate love and kindness, within ourselves. We purify. We do things where we purify and can actually feel our purity. Our purity is never separate from us. That is the Buddha nature. It's within us at all times. It's within us always. But the lack of recognizing it, the lack of awareness of it, keeps us separated and keeps our actions follow from unclear views, from these particular lenses are putting distorted ones up. We put this is a little bit too strong, so it really distorts everything. We can have a moment of openness, of kindness, of, at any given time. But again, this is going to take an action of moving forward, of what kind of practice we're doing. If we stay with our practice. So, meditation, for example, yes, meditation, we talk about sitting meditation, and we sit and we begin to sit quietly. So the sitting quietly is beginning to be slowing the process down. This is what's the Sanskrit word is shamatha, mental quiet, mental calmness. We do something. Maybe we do breathing. We follow our breath, or maybe we have a particular image that we use. But we basically are letting our mind start to quiet down with this quiet space. But that quiet space itself is not the ultimate goal. The quiet space is what's necessary. The shamatha is what quiets us down. What's known as vipassana is what sees through. So the wisdom then begins to see, oh, wait a minute, I just slowed down this movie, and it's this frame, this frame, this frame. We've slowed it down to frames, and before we know it, we've gone beyond frames, no time, no this, no that. There basically begins, the ability of open space, of recognizing what's really there is open space, and this is an illusion, to be caught up in this, area, so that the sleight of hand that a magician does to make something appear has now slowed down enough that you're able to see it really does not appear. There really is not an elephant there. Somehow that energy is able to be put for me to see, but in reality, there is no elephant. There is no horse. Or as David Copperfield, an airplane. I don't know what he does, but so the practices. When we begin to sit down in meditation, we're beginning to sit quietly and beginning to calm it. So now we're watching our breath. So what happens? I don't know. We're all different. 5 seconds, 7 seconds. Our mind's thinking about dinner last night. Something else comes up. Distraction. It's really not a distraction, but to us it's a distraction, because what did it just do? It distracted us from being in touch with our real energy. It's moved us away. It's moved us away from this clarity, from this illuminating quality of mind, which is not only empty, but is aware, and is not only that, but it has a brilliance of intelligence. The intelligence is beyond conceptual intelligence. It's a fact of knowing. And so when we begin, to then slow that process down, again, within a few moments, within a few seconds, something's going to happen again. Energy is going to come again. And we're going to say, wait a minute, that was one of the best feelings I've ever had in my life, and I want that back. That grasping for that is pushing us further away. We need to learn to experience moment by moment. So our sitting in our meditation, when it really becomes meditation, is when we've gone beyond meditating. There's no I, there's no meditation. It's beyond limitations. It's beyond concepts. That's what meditation is. The thoughts that start to come up afterwards is distracting us, is pulling again. But those distractions are not real. So when we learn to have experience with them as they come about, they don't have that hold over us. Like I always love to say, the story of the Buddha sitting underneath the Bodhi tree. He's sitting there calm and quiet within himself. But because of past karma, karmic energy is coming up. What is called maras are coming up. And basically, some of them becoming seductive. But Buddha just sits there and looks at him like he's looking at a movie, not like there's something real seductive. Comes up as aggression. In the story of the Buddha, it's like being attacked with arrows and swords and different things. Buddha sits there and just sees it all as a display of his own wisdom that's expressing itself in different ways. The things that we dislike the most doesn't mean they don't stop happening to us. It means that they stop holding us to our feelings about them. We begin to discover inner freedom. That inner freedom gives us energy in order to do that again. So we sit down with meditation, and we're sitting there and we're finding ourselves in a quiet position. At the very beginning, we talk about which position putting ourselves, if you can, in full lotus or half lotus, and keeping the back straight, and head's a little bit bent forward, a little bit of elongation of the spine up on top, and sometimes it's calm, just with your hands here in this mudra or something like this, whatever, it doesn't matter. So at the beginning, when we do this is beginning to allow our energy to align. It's that these 72,000 different channels within ourselves begin to align, and all of a sudden, instead of driving in different directions, if they start to become, start to move into the central channel, this is what's practiced in Vajrayana and Tantra, is to move the energies there. So at the very beginning level, for why we're meditating, we might sit there and meditate. We might sit down. We just sit down. And okay, wait a minute, I feel kind of drowsy. Okay. What is that foggy? What is that drowsy? What is that feeling? We check up. We take a look. We find out it doesn't really have any real existence. Before we know it, we've just got our second breath, like running a marathon. And then we have something else come about. And then our mindfulness sees that we're off a little bit, and we again, take a look, and we don't get caught up in whatever this is going on. So the tiredness, the tightness just becomes energy, which there becomes no fight going on within us. We begin to just become aware of what's going on. And so the ability to sit begins to gain more and more quality rather than quantity. It doesn't matter the time. The more we get in touch with our real nature, the more we act along the path, then things get easier and easier. But they're not easy to begin with because we've got so much baggage. So again, that's where, at certain times you've got to do some purification, or sometimes we need to take a walk. We need something, to relax. Part of the meditation is with sitting in that position, but what I love to say in that, it's the same as a guitar. If you take the string of the guitar and you squeeze it too tight, like Lama says squeezing, it snaps. If it's too loose, it makes no sound. So you need to find that relaxation within oneself. The relaxation is there. There is no moment that we've experienced, there's no moment going forward in a relative thought of now till, let's say, this life, that we do not have relaxation, we do not have clarity, we do not have wisdom there. It is there. It is there. So by looking and dealing with it on moment by moment basis, we begin to have experiences, and those experiences begin to accumulate, and those begin to open us up to deeper levels and deeper levels and deeper levels. Like we were doing there earlier, when we were doing something with the Tara mantra. I said on the visualization of Tara, Tara is a beautiful green color. But when we go to imagine the green color, I don't know you, but for me, it comes out kind of dull. It's not dull. Start to see it expressing, because the creative part of our mind, because our minds are empty, you don't have to be this, doesn't have to be that. It can be creative. So the creativeness, all of a sudden, it's an incredible color green. And when you're doing other practices and it has to do with colors and lights, all of a sudden these things start to become closer to what their real nature is. These rainbow colors are vivid. They're so vivid that we can barely look at them. They're blinding. It's blinding to us. So when we begin to look inside and begin to see and begin to feel, and you start to feel this incredible, Tara energy and protection and that green color, and and then of course, just the gesture, basically the gesture of giving and holding the flower, and these things send messages. They send messages to our mind on a different level. So this is the practice. We go to Buddha, we go to Dharma, and then of course we go to the community of others, around us, and protectors and others, because we want to encourage each other along the path. It's something very beautiful when you find yourself on the path with others, and we can give each other that kind of energy and encouragement and move along, because we all get overrun. That's why at this point we suffer within the different realms of existence. We go through periods that feel like hell to us. We go through periods that feel like we're on top of the world, that we're in the God realms. We go through periods where we're just dull and feel dumb like the animal realm. We go through some periods where we're always like starving, and so we're never comfortable with ourselves because we're always starving. That's that hungry ghost with the big stomach and the small throat and small mouth, could never get enough food to fill the stomach. I know that. I can feel that. So these are the these are the psychological states that we've put ourselves in. And so that it's fantastic that that there is this awakened energy, what's known as Buddha, awakened energy, awakened wisdom that can begin to give us the proper type of guidance, and give us the proper type of teachings and community, and help us move along that path. So I think that's probably good enough. Not the longest talk, but enough stuff to think about. So.
Any short advice?
Any advice?
Mm-hmm. Short advice.
Short advice? Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, you have to tell me what is the issue. If you give me an issue, I'll try to give you some advice. There's advice on thousands of levels, So give me something that you want advice on. Something with people, something with your meditation.
If we watch the video, so maybe people will have a question where to begin. Yeah.
So where to begin? That's where we begin using the sitting meditation at the beginning, which is important with the posture. And it doesn't matter if you sit on a chair or where you sit, but keep the spine straight, and begin by just either following the breath in and breath out. Not trying to control it in this case. We're not doing pranayama. Our awareness is staying on that. The other one that I like quite a bit is the rising and falling of the abdomen. It's got a very soothing, there's kind of a soft energy to that. That's very nice. So you're sitting, and instead of feeling tight where you're squeezing, because that squeezes, and then next thing you know, your neck's squeezing and your shoulders are squeezing, everything's squeezing, because once you start to squeeze anywhere, that's that thing where, I don't know why it just popped in my head again, but, because I read it, came up twice in the past few weeks, where, a butterfly in Asia or in Europe flaps its wings, and the effects of that energy, on this side of the world. So that, when you begin to, we begin to sit there with it, and you begin to feel there, some of the quietness, then you'll become aware when something's happened. It might be a sound outside, you might hear horns honking or something, and your mind jumps to that. Okay, let's jump to that. You bring it back again to your breathing or to your abdomen, and you sit, you sit within the meditation. As you get deeper into it, and your mind does begin to quiet down, as it starts to, it's like anything else, we go and we, physically train for something, and the more we do it, the better we get at it. So the more you begin to get at bringing your mind, mindfulness, awakefulness, not unconsciousness. Becoming aware, becoming conscious of what's going on within the realm of your being. You become aware of it. And then if you don't grasp onto it, but you just let that come about, you're able to sit there. So if you sit there and think, okay, well, I was only going to meditate 10 minutes. Has it been 10 minutes? I'm going to look at my watch. You're off, right? So if you want to set something and just sit for short periods of time, but quality-wise, you begin to sit and you begin to let what you feel in your body, in your knees, in your back, in your neck, let those things come up, and you think they're going to stay there forever, but they don't. When you lose the filter of the I feel this, and because I feel that hurts, and then because my knee's hurting, so then I'm struggling with it. And when I struggle there's that flapping of the butterfly thing. Now it's went and it's sent that same energy pattern throughout my entire being has gone to tightness. The real nature of our mind is calm and clear, is natural. It's calm and clear, and it's aware, and it can know things properly with wisdom. So that's where we begin to, work a little bit within that process. Then when you step away from, just sitting meditation, bring it to your walking meditation, bring it to your everyday life. That's where it becomes the thing that, like when you're doing dishes, then do the dishes. 100% be in that particular time period. You're just being in the moment, in that awareness, in that little flash of moment. You're there, you're not off somewhere else, so then it's not dishes dropping here and there, because that's what I would do. I'm not aware, so the dishes are going to drop and break. So become aware when you're doing the dishes. I guess in some ways, if, I don't know, my kids will ever look at this, but they'll never like it, because they along with everybody else seems to like multitasking. So be where you are at that time, and that's the starting point. Once you begin to do that, then you can begin to understand and read and hear some certain teachings, and they'll begin to affect you on a different level. As long as they stay on the intellectual level, they're going to be kind of indirect and not touch much. Once you start to have experiences, you're going to start to have some deep experiences. Have any of you, you don't have to say anything about it, but have any of you felt like at certain times in your life when you were young or something like that you had an angel guardian looking after you? Something that felt really good. Well, that angel, that guardian is always there. In Tibetan terms, that's the Dakini energy. That thing that is always there. It's always looking after us. But we've separated. As we get older, we get further and further from it. When we're younger, we're feeling really pretty good about, this guardian angel and, looking after us and feeling really good. But we begin to ignore it. That guardian angel, the true nature of our mind, is in there at all times. And we've gotten away from it. So as we start to get closer to it, the beauty of it is that it's not like sometimes we have a friend, and we go see a friend, we say hi, and they say, oh, thanks no, that's nice. You haven't called me for 5 years. Now you want to talk to me or something? They don't. The guardian angel, the Dakinis, the Buddha nature will never say that. Will always embrace you. That's the, beginning to see that you can have compassion for yourself, that you've kind of separated a little bit, but no big deal. You're going to get back. You're going to get back to this, get back into the real nature of mind. Thank you. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll do a dedication offline.